How did you get into it, Tony? How did you go from where you were into the world of M&A for agencies in particular?
Agencies. Okay, long story short, because it is a long story and it's quite bizarre. I started life. I went on a graduate scheme for Midland Group, Midland Bank. Trained as a chartered management accountant, chartered treasurer, qualified. Went straight into investment banking side at Midland Montague. Did that for 4 years, and then decided that whilst I love doing M&A, a lot of the people you meet in the world of investment banking aren't necessarily the nicest. And so I decided I wanted to ship out. So I ended up via 2 years at Unisys Systems as CFO, which is another completely different story. In a company, I got headhunted into a group that had 5 marketing services companies and a bunch of industrial conglomerates like paint manufacturer and shop fitting and stuff like that. And I got brought in to be COO of the marketing services side, which appealed to me at the time. And when I got in, I was told by the CEO of the PLC they actually wanted me to IPO the agencies off separately because I'd ex-City, no, do that. And I fell about laughing. I said, you can't do that. They're all too small. You can't. Most of the CEOs don't like you guys because you're sucking the cash out to fund the paint manufacturers. And so I said, well, I'll do a management buyout if you like. And they fell about laughing. So I was like 12 years old. And so I went off and spoke to 3i and got some money, Bank of Scotland, and we bought 2 of the companies from that business. We were going to buy all 5, but one of them kind of fell out of bed in a bad way. A really bad way. I actually had a fist fight with the CEO at the time. It was quite exciting. And so that fell out of bed. So we ended up buying 2 and created a company called Corporate Edge that we then built through acquisition and organically. So we grew it fairly quickly from 80 to 160 odd people. And then had a rough time in recession. Should have sold it in 2000. Salient point for those listening: don't think the growth is always going to continue. We got to 2.2 million EBITDA back then. That's 25 years ago, pretty quick. And then we hit a recession. So it came back down. We turned it round and got it back up again. So it's kind of like, it's one of those things where you miss a moment. So, but lots of salutary learning. Don't just turn that phone off. It's probably a scammer. No, it is. That can wait. My bloody car coming back. That's how I did it. So basically, I then sold the business in 2008, 2007 to Photon in Australia, and then set up Green Square in 2008 with 3 others. And so we've been going 17 years, number of transactions, love what we do. Very different model to most in that all of us in the business have built and sold our own companies. So all qualified. So we're in a slightly different place to most. So I've got fabulous partners and enjoy what we do. And everything's referred. So we don't do much marketing. We don't have to. It literally walks in the door. So I couldn't wish for a nicer thing.
That comment there of you got to 2.2 million EBIT 25 years ago, huge amount of EBIT. When you're looking at like the valuation of businesses and agencies, I speak to a lot of people and they'll often say, I think my business is worth X. And I look at it and think, it's not. It's not worth that amount of money because of varying factors. When you're looking at an agency, you're looking at a business, what are those key factors that really move the dial in those negotiations when you're trying to drive that top value? So when people say to me, my agency's worth, and the number they always want for it, but bizarrely enough, seems to be 5 million, and they say, we want 5 million, it's worth 5 million. I look and think, it's not worth 5 million. What are the key factors that they should be looking at to drive valuations, 5 million and north of 5 million?
Yeah, some things only ever worth what someone's prepared to pay for it, right? So you're not going to find out until you're in the market. But the things that will drive the value, obviously financials play a key part, but it's not, they're on our list of things, they're like number 5. Right. You need to be really, if you're going to get proper value, you need to be doing more than 1 million EBIT. Most of our clients are between 1 and 8 million EBIT. And at the top, we'll talk about scale later, but the thing that does drive, there are 7 factors that we look at, which we do in a thing called an Ascension Day that we run for agencies to help them get ready. We only do 2 things, Ascension Days and M&A. Don't do anything else. And the 7 things are, what's your proposition? This is absolutely key. So you've got to be clear in what you do. So you don't want to be sort of trying to be everything to all people, saying you're full service when you've got 30 staff, because it doesn't stack up. You can't be expert in all those areas. So proposition is important, and propositions in terms of what's hot and what's not in the market, they come and go. So performance is still hot. Influencers are things that are being asked for an awful lot at the moment. These sort of areas, and there's always a bit of a cycle to it. But be clear on your proposition. Do what you say you do. Don't. And when you look across, quick tip, often we look across our clients or would-be clients' social media platforms, and the stuff they say about themselves varies on every single platform.
Right.
And it's just unbelievable. And the website strapline might be completely different to what they're saying about themselves, on LinkedIn. So you need to have a look at that and make sure you've got consistency. So that's proposition. Market positioning is important. So where do you sit versus your peers? Usual old story. What makes you different? Why should someone buy from you versus the next team down the road? What is it? And it's not about price. It's about actually bringing something different to the party. And that's really, you got to have some kind of core positioning that sets you apart. So, have a think about that. We then get into clients, and it's the usual stuff that you know as much as I do, Jay, on balance of clients, type of verticals you're in. Do you focus on one vertical? Do you work across loads of different verticals depending on your offer and proposition, basically, whether you can or not? No single client reliance, generally nobody over 20% of your gross profit, because if you're doing a 20% margin, you've got a 20% revenue client, you lose that client, you're at zero. So that's quite a big no factor actually for a lot of acquirers. Is client over reliance. That's a huge problem.
Right.
So make sure you've got a really proper team, people in the right jobs, decent management team. Don't be tempted to put too many people on the management team, because then the thing becomes unwieldy. We're at 160 people because we've bought various agencies along the way. I had 23 people on the board, and it's just lunatic. So we had to chop it down to like 5 or 6 of us managed the business, really.
Yeah.
The others were sort of there because they'd come in with an agency we bought and wanted to have the title director above their door. But there's a bit of ego there, so you need to be careful on that one. But team is important. Make sure they're incentivized with, decent share option schemes are absolutely critical. What acquirers get worried about is where they're buying a business with 1 or 2 founders with all the equity and a team beneath them that haven't got anything, because the fear there is they'll do a deal, founders are bugger off, and then the team below them are saying, well, hold on, we've made these guys and girls rich. What's in it for us? And if they lose that team, they've got nothing. So team incentivization is really important. Again, financials, usual metrics that you talk about, Jay, trying to get to decent profitability, north of 20% EBIT margin against GP. Staff costs 55% to 60%, overheads 20 odd percent. Might be a bit lower these days with people working from home and out of the office. And
the staff ratio's crept up now. I think it's offset, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's all that stuff that you can talk to people about. So there's nothing new there. Stability is important. Are there any single factors that could kill you off? I'm not talking about a 9/11 moment or a COVID moment outside of your control. I'm talking about having somebody who holds down a lot of client business, again, single client reliance, sort of certain personalities in the business. Is it properly structured? So could something go wrong that would really upset the apple cart? Look at those risk points. And the final one, the 7th one, which is the most important one in terms of value, is growth strategy. Because people buy agencies because they want growth from that agency. And that's why they pay a multiple of profit. They're not expecting you to flatline. And the trick is not to try and sell at the top of your game, because then there's nothing left for the buyer when they buy it from an earn-out. And if they spot it, they will drop the multiple. Now, it's bloody hard to work out when you're at the peak of your game. You can't really, right? But you need to have a strategy. And when we take people to market within the IMs, we have a growth strategy page, and it's split into 2. And one side, left-hand side, for example, will say, this is what we would do if we're going to grow organically and not be acquired. So you have to plan 4 or 5 things, and it's probably a good idea if you're doing 1 or 2 of them, so you can show it's working. And on the other side of the page, we put down things I want an acquirer for. And there's a few usual old chestnuts in there: geographic expansion, different sectors, this, that, and the other. But it could be that you simply want access to other brands. We've got a company at an agency at the moment. They're growing madly quickly, really quick. But they have a lot of, it's in the sort of creator marketplace. They have a lot of relatively small brands. They want access to bigger brands. So for them, they're looking to do a transaction where they could sell not all of it, but slight majority, but team up with somebody that can get them into different markets.
Yeah.
And that's a really interesting proposition for an acquirer because it kind of splits the risk. So,
Yeah.
and it shows also that they are keen on maintaining their growth and they want to find a different way to do it.
So these are, and we spoke about these before, these are the 7 things that the agencies need to be doing well, and also like evidence to doing well as
Yeah.
And it is interesting that your financials are sitting at number 5 because all those things need to be happening first. So if you've got agencies that
doesn't mean they're fifth in importance, it just means you've got to really concentrate on what the business is and what it represents.
When you look at those, for me, those things above the financials are actually key factors in driving the financial.
So, if you haven't got all that, you're not going to have great.
They're almost like your leading indicators, aren't they, to drive
the thing about the Ascension Day is it kind of like even if you're not selling your business, it's a good thing because it basically, if you run your business like you're going to sell it tomorrow, you will have a good business, and those are the things that make a good business.
A couple of my clients have done an Ascension Day with you. Might be worth just like a minute to give people sort of ideas of what happens on an Ascension Day and what they could be thinking of now to just make the business run better.
I mean, it's right. I mean, this isn't a pitch, but but just to give you in a nutshell, it's a loss leader for us. It's 10 grand, and that includes the off-site room hire, refreshments, all that stuff. But we ask for a load of information in advance, the sort of stuff we'd look for in taking somebody to market. We analyze all of that, and it's across various touch points, financials, marketing, operations, all that side of it, team, everything I've talked about here. We then put together a presentation around those 7 key things, what's hot, what's not in your business. And then we feed that back on the day in a live workshop. So we look at your own sort of aspirations of where you want to be, non-financial and financial. Where do you want to be in 3 years' time? To start with. So that gives us a bit of a framework of where we're working, what we're doing, and then we go through our findings. And we don't mind people shooting us down, going, not right on that. And a lot of stuff people hear won't be new news, but what it does give is people a roadmap that they go away with, and clients love it because it's 10 grand. It should be 30 in terms of time, but people don't want to spend that sort of money. It's rather spend on something else. And for us, it's a bit of an investment in our clients. But it's good fun. We enjoy doing it because we've all not only are we all qualified to do the job and investment people, but we like rolling our sleeves up and getting underneath.
Getting involved.
Yeah, getting properly involved. Yeah, it's always happy to do that.
So, are there any major shifts happening in the UK M&A market right now? I mean, I was at an event on Wednesday, and we obviously AI comes up all the time, and somebody said we're going to start playing shot AI, that every time somebody mentions the word AI, you have to have a shot. I thought I'd be drunk by the time that meeting finished, but the amount of times it come up. But is there shifts in the M&A market in the UK now that AI is having a real impact on? Are buyers more focused on the scale? Are they focused on the tech, on specialism? Profitable. What is there been a shift over the last few years, or is it still pretty consistent in what they're looking for?
I think the things that we've noticed recently is the market is softening a bit. So 2 years ago, acquirers were saying to us, and we look all around the world for acquirers, don't just deal with a few acquirers, and we're only sell side. But most of the big players were saying constantly, don't bring us anything unless it's at least 4 or 5 million EBIT. And we've got a couple of clients, international clients, that are north of that number, big businesses, 200 to 300 people, sterling 5 million and 8 million EBIT. And we're struggling to find a buyer because they kind of got too expensive. The market has dropped. You take these clients to the acquirers that are asking for that, and they go, oh, that's going to cost me somewhere between 50 and 100 million. And we go, yeah, that's about right. And they said, well, I've only got 25. I won't say which network it is.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend more than 25 million. And I'm like, well, you need to be looking at something between 2 and 3 million now then, because you want to be paying, 10 million up front with an earn out of probably up to 15. So, don't come to us telling us, we've got to have these big agencies if you haven't got deep enough pockets. It's quite annoying. So they're probably going to go to PE route. I mean, PE still has money, but availability of cash is less. They're not sort of, throwing around like they were 12 months ago.
5 years ago.
Yeah, and the market will come back. I mean, we always say conditions are always perfect, which is something I nicked off my friend Chris Savage in Australia. Because if you look at every year, there's a reason not to do a deal or not to go to market. I mean, back in 2014, it was Iran, Iraq, and Chinese economy failure. 2015, fear of Brexit, and Donald Trump, which got both of those things. 2017, I think ISIS came along, and that lasted about 2 years, and that was a bit of a problem. 2019, 20, we got a pandemic. That's
Yeah.
another treat. That finishes and Putin kicks off, and then you get to 2023 and the Israelis go, and then Trump arrives again, and it's like, oh my god! So there's no reason to hold off. If you held off going to market back in 2014, you'd still be sitting there
Still be
twiddling.
waiting. I'm glad you said that, because the last two events I've been at this week, people have been talking about, oh, is it, it's tough in the agency world and this and that. And I just said, look, I've been working now for 36 years, and I started at Next, training as an accountant, and Next were flying. And then within a year, this wasn't down to me, by the way, in a year, I think their shares got suspended at like 2p. And now they're like the darling of the high street, where at the time Marks and Spencers were. When I worked in banking, Lloyd's were. It feels like it's all down to me. Lloyd's were flying, then there wasn't. But what I was trying to get at, wherever business
I'm
you,
on the next close at a
yeah,
discount,
yeah,
banking money from Lloyd's.
yeah, whatever business you're in, there's always a percentage of people that are absolutely flying and doing amazing.
Yeah,
There's always a percentage that are just like, yeah, we're just ticking along, it's good. And there's a percentage
yeah,
that's struggling. And at any one point through your business career, you're going to be in one of those percentages.
yeah.
And I
That's
think
very
that there's always a good time. He's so right.
You've got to be careful. I mean, you're looking at the bloke that's offered 15 million for his agency in 2001 and sold it for just over 7 in 2007, having dragged it kicking and screaming through the recession and back out the other side. So there's
Yeah,
always a time to go. And, there's also, and that we didn't not sell it because we're being greedy. We were buying something in the States in 2001. We said to the buyer, come back in 6 months because we will be interested. But in 6 months' time, the world had changed. In 2001, things went slightly wrong. Then we hit 9/11, and the whole thing stopped. In fact, the agency we were going to buy went bust straight after that. So it's quite a salutary lesson there, I think. But yeah, so in terms of that, scale is important. You asked a couple of other things about specialism and profitability. Over a million EBIT is quite important because it costs a buyer 300,000 to do a deal. I mean, that's not paying advisors. That's just due diligence, legal fees, and all the rest of it. It's not M&A advisors. They generally do it all in house. So if they're going to invest that sort of money, and everyone thinks all of these companies buy an agency every 5 minutes, they don't. Most of these groups maybe do 6 to 9 a year max. So it's not like there's a huge loadout happening in the market. So I think you've got to be doing really north of a million EBIT, unless you're something really niche like AI. You mentioned AI. There's a lot of buzz around AI. I think the smart agencies are not using AI to save money on the processes that they're doing and not passing that saving on to the client. The smart agencies are explaining to clients how they're using AI to the client's advantage. And I was with someone yesterday, a very interesting performance business. They insource to clients to help them with their performance marketing. And they basically advise their clients on what AI they should be using as part of the process for what they're doing. And that builds trust. What you don't want to be caught out doing is cutting corners using it and not passing on that advantage.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Driving costs down. I think acquirers always look for the revenue growth, don't they? Not the cost
Yeah,
cut.
yeah,
Just out of interest, influencer agencies, are they big on the acquirers scene? They
they
seem to
are at the
come out of
moment.
nowhere, and some of the numbers I've seen them going for are quite
Like,
watering.
well, the thing about it is they've got as long as they've got a good process, and the sort of good ones have got thousands of creators, but they have to have a process to manage those creators. And there's and the interesting thing is when you look at the clients of influencer agencies, a lot of them are quite young brands themselves, and these are people that will sign up quickly for to run a campaign. One of the people we're working with, they can go from zero to online in 14 days with a product. And these are quite big brands they work with, but not They're not, some of them are household names, but a lot of them are sort of healthcare brands, health and wellness. Pet wellness is a big area at the moment. And a lot of these are new brands that are coming into market, and they can turn it around quick. What you've got to be able to do is have an influencer community that you can quickly work out which is the right influencer, which are the right influencers to use for a specific product, get the product to them. They script up what they're going to say. The influencers do the video comes back, it's edited down in-house, then sent to the client for sign-off. And once it's signed off, it goes live, then they reiterate it and see how it works across Meta and TikTok. And influencer marketing, they are growing revenue at 20% a month. 20% month on month. They are absolutely flying. And, and I think I'm not going to say all these things have their moment in the sun, but things generally do. But I think at the moment, it is such a quick way of moving product. And when times are tough and scary, brands want to shift product. They're not interested in long-term brand equity and doing all that sort of stuff. They want to get stuff out the door. And influencer marketing creator marketing is one of the quickest ways of doing that. That's why people are keen on it.
Yeah, and also not a great barrier to actually set up an influencer agency, is there?
No, I mean they do have quite low barriers to entry, but you still have to. I mean, some people you could set it up just with 2 or 3 people in someone's flat, but the reality is you've got to have proper processes and systems to measure it, because there's no point pushing out videos that haven't been vetted. You've got some character on there, some influencer, it turns out, is up in court for something terrible, or equally you can't measure the impact. Now there are tools out there you can literally buy off the shelf that do this, and so you can set up quite quickly, but feedback to your clients. But it's quite an interesting thing. People in sort of the PR area should be looking at this because they're already in that sort of environment.
I mean, the PR thing for me is really interesting because with your AI engines now wanting up-to-date, relevant new content, I think there could be a whole surge in PR again around brands to get that latest content out. I think that's a whole different conversation. Right. I can't believe it's gone past 5 to 10 10. It's gone so quick. There'll be people on this webinar today that may be 2, 3, 4 years away from thinking, I'm getting to an age I might want to get out of the crazy world of the creative sector. What should they be doing, now to get ready to really maximize, I guess, the value of that agency, but also the options open to them?
I think the value of it, do those 7 things I talked about. Look at all of those things and really focus down. I mean, we have this video clip that we put out of Metallica Reading, I think. One of my sons happened to be there, so got a text out, and it was on BBC 3, so I put a telly on, so I did, and it's a brilliant clip because the crowd are going mad. The band step up onto the stage, everyone goes crazy. James Hetfield stands up, grabs the mic, and goes, "We're Metallica. This is what we do." And off they go. And I thought, wow, that's proposition. That is proposition. You do one thing. You ain't going to get them doing some rap act. They do one thing. So be clear on your proposition. That's so important. Work out what your differentiation is. Incentivize your team properly. I'm not talking about locked-in bonuses as profit share that you're going to have to keep paying after you've been acquired. Think about equity options, really important. Keep an eye on those financials and metrics you can help people with. Understand where your growth strategy is, because that's one of the things you're going to be asked for. And if you don't know, then why is someone going to buy you if you haven't got your growth? We've had plenty of clients that have held off and got to 2 or 3 million EBIT, or a bit less than that, in fact, but haven't got a strategy and they haven't gone to market, and then they've plateaued. And that's a real problem.
That's a problem.
So I'd say those are the things really to focus on. And also, you have to sort of say to yourself, when do I want to... I mean, when I was 38, 39, I said to myself, I wanted to have paid off the mortgage and sorted out the school fees and all that stuff by the time I was about 40, 42, 43. And it didn't mean I actually had a plan and sat down and wrote down, this is what I'm going to do at these days, but it just kind of happened. You have to have a thing in your head of what your aspiration is, and something you want to achieve, financial, non-financial, achieve by a given age. And it's almost like a kind of, I'm going to sound like really fucking weird here, but like a universe thing, where if you think that's where I want to be at that period in time, things will fall into place, or you will subconsciously make them fall into place. And that's so important. Otherwise, you're just a bit rudderless, and you suddenly wake up and you find you're in your 50s and, and you're sort of like, oh, I missed the boat.
Yeah,
No, Pink
it's
Floyd line.
so the old Marine failing to planning to fail, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, that's that line, Pink Floyd.
Tone, I
10
can't
years have
believe
got behind you.
I
Now
can't believe it's 10
rank
o'clock.
along.
Amazing advice today. Great chatting to you as always. We normally ask our guests to say if there's one bit of advice, but you've given so much advice. I don't know if there is one sage bit of advice like do that. What would
Okay.
it be after everything you've given? What would it be,
Don't
mate?
assume everyone else is doing better than you and that the grass is always greener in the next field. It's tempting. Often it isn't. You get in the next field and you find someone else has jumped into yours and is eating your lunch, and what you've got is not so good. That's one. I'll give you one other one. Know when to stop flogging a dead horse. If
Yeah,
something isn't working within your agency, don't keep going at it. Just sometimes you have to just step back and go, that isn't working. It's failed. It doesn't matter. Move on to the next thing. Those are
love
the
it.
things we often see people doing, and you think, actually, focus.